Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man? They say murder 3. Strange things that happen here. How stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree?
Back in 1776, someone said, "Give me coffee or give me death." And if that's how you feel, you should be at the Organic Man Coffee Tribe. They make coffee the right way, one delicious cup at a time. 4501 McPherson, Suite Number 9. Coffee, the stuff dreams are made of. And welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chris James. With me tonight is Lady Beltane, who is a legally ordained pagan minister. She grew up as a Wiccan and became a high priestess in that tradition. She derives her knowledge from both sides of her family and is a hereditary witch. Now she practices as an eclectic high priestess. Her spirituality and magic have influence from different traditions of Wiccan, as well as ancient Egyptian, Celtic, both German and Irish, and Native American traditions. She was the high priestess for 2 covens, which gave birth to hive covens, and then hive covens from these. This gives her the honor of being addressed as Lady Beltane in the worldwide pagan community. Lady Beltane has 2 websites, A Coven Life and Witches of the Craft. She also runs an online school for developing witches. Thank you for being on the show with us today, Lady Beltane.
You're welcome. Merry meet.
Hopefully this will be as informative and entertaining an hour as I can put together.
I will certainly try to help you.
Is the name witch correct, or is it Wiccan?
Well, in neo-paganism and also in historical paganism, both men and women were called witches. Wiccan is a specific tradition and religion that was started by Gerald Gardner in the 1950s. So Wiccan is a religion, which is the people that practice the religion.
And your title as lady, are there other titles used for your practitioners?
Yes, we go from the new people in the coven that are just starting to learn would be novices. They study for a year and a day. Then we go to adepts or intermediate, and in my coven, they study for 2 years and 1 day. And then those that I feel would make good spiritual and magical leaders, I offer a priest or priestess class to. And that one, it depends upon when they feel like they're ready to go out on their own, and I feel they're ready to, so there's really no set time for that particular course. Now, other covens have other names that they call them, but basically there's 3 steps in all covens.
Could you give just a brief history of where witchcraft came from?
If I had a time machine, I could do it much better. Most of our history has been lost because not a lot of it was written down. And it was passed on, usually from mother to daughter, verbally. And then when our persecutions started way back with the Spanish Inquisition, and even before then, a lot was lost that had been written down because it got burned up. When the Romans invaded Britannia and went against Queen Boudica, who was a Celtic, and her tribes, and the Druid priests. The Druid priests were their spiritual leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about when stuff started getting burned and obviously people killed. Then you move forward to the Spanish Inquisition. You move forward from that to the burning times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when people think of the burning times or witch trials in modern day, excuse me just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. People seem to think of Salem, Massachusetts. Salem, Massachusetts was actually at about the end of the burning times.
Mm-hmm.
It started with King James IV in Scotland, moved down into England, and then over into the colonies. One of the first places where witch trials were held was actually in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Way before it kind of worked its way down the colonies till it hit Salem, Massachusetts, and for whatever reason that got the most publicity and is remembered the most. So most people think that that was the only witch trials, which is a fallacy.
Were you able to listen to last week's show at all?
No, not yet.
Well, I went over a lot of the history, and hopefully I got it right. If you do get a chance to listen, be sure and let me know if I messed up, and I'll make an addendum to the show.
Okay. In fact, right before you called me, I was clicking to put it on.
Well, hopefully we won't keep you too long. You'll be able to listen sometime today.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Do you consider witchcraft to be a religion, a lifestyle, or both?
Both. To me, okay, witchcraft is a nature-based religion.
Mm-hmm.
So by being nature-based, our lifestyle is to help clean up the planet, and it's also part of our spiritual work,
mm-hmm.
as well as doing spells to feed positive energy into Mother Earth. So some people do not live their witchcraft out in the open. Most people don't. They're in what we coined as a broom closet. They aren't way out there like I am.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so for me, it's both. It's a religion of how I choose to honor gods and goddesses, but it's also my lifestyle so that I can get back into living in better harmony with Mother Earth.
At what age did you decide that this was the direction you were going to go?
Well, in childhood, I was taught by my great-grandmothers on my father's side how to use different herbs for not only cooking, but for medicinal purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my mother's side, I was taught to listen to my intuition, and also that it was okay that I saw ghosts and talked to them. But moving ahead a few years, I was 19 before I actually entered a coven and really started studying the way of the craft, or the old ways, whichever one you want to call them.
Was it difficult to learn what you needed to know, or did it seem to come kind of easy?
To me, because of being a hereditary witch, it was kind of like memory cells that have been turned off got turned back on. If that makes sense?
Yes.
Some people find it very difficult. Some of my students do. Other people are in between it being difficult and really easy. Then there's some like me that it just is like second nature to.
I guess it'd be kind of like artwork. Some people can pick up a pencil or a paintbrush and they're fantastic, and other people have to really work at it in order to do anything with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a very good analogy.
While you were learning, did you study under a mentor, or was it a group that aimed you in the right directions?
Okay. My first year as a novice was a nightmare because of the coven that I had chose. This is not how I run my coven, but this is how I went through my novice year. Was I was only allowed to ask two certain people in the whole coven questions.
Jeez.
And I was only allowed to ask them at certain times, which made it difficult.
Yes.
Now, the way I run my coven, and even my face-to-face covens will run this way, is you can go to anybody that is halfway through their immediate level on up whenever you want. Talk to them. You know, if they can't help you, they'll pass you on to somebody that can. I want people in my coven to feel comfortable, that they can ask whatever they need to ask, whether it's for help with something in a lesson, or a member of their family's really sick and they'd like us to do a healing session, or, you know, they're down for some reason and just need to talk. I guess you would call it an open door policy.
Yes.
The easiest way to explain it. And I can't speak for other covens because, you know, I don't know how they're run. I only know how mine is now. Your original question was, because I know I went on a tangent.
Well, it was just about whether or not you learned by studying with a group, or if you were guided by an individual.
My novice year, guided by two individuals, if you call it that. I left that coven and joined another one, and there I could go to anyone and ask questions. And after my adept and priestess studies, the High Priestess was in her 70s and decided she wanted to retire and picked me as her successor. So I was a very young High Priestess. I was only 22 when I became a High Priestess.
Wow. I read your rules on requesting help from your group. Is this common amongst other witches, or just your fellow practitioners, just your group?
It depends on the website and who's running the website. There are websites you can go to and get free spells done or pay to have a spell or ritual done. I don't believe in doing that for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know the sincerity of the person and if what they're asking for is what they really want. Two, the requests I usually get are to either take away somebody's will, like a love spell, to make somebody love another person, to harm another person, and so, no, I won't. And as far as giving them a spell, I don't know if they've had any teaching, if they know how to do a spell safely, you know, because if a spell backfires while you're doing it, you can physically get hurt.
Are you at all familiar with Edgar Casey?
A little.
The Sleeping Prophet?
A little bit.
Okay. I always say that of all the people on the planet, he's in the top 5 most interesting people I've ever looked into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back to the subject. If a person were to contact you requesting help, say with a physical ailment, they had migraines or they had knee pain or something along those lines, would you cast a spell, or would you send energy, or would you send them a recommendation on how to take care of this problem?
You're saying just someone I don't know.
Yes, somebody
like
just
that.
they contact you and they say, "Could you help me with this problem?"
My very first question to them would be is if they've had a medical doctor check them thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
And if they answer no, then I would suggest that they go to their doctor first. And after they go to their doctor, the doctor isn't able to help them. It goes on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm an energy practitioner, and if they got worse and they decided that it was because of me,
yes.
I could be sued.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said it goes on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
If the person is willing to let me get to know them and set up a Skype call with me, I more than likely will help them. If they don't want to set up a Skype call, I definitely will not help them because I think there's something fishy going on.
Mm-hmm. So it would be more of an energy healing endeavor on your part?
Yes. I work with the 4 elements, air, fire, water, and earth,
mm-hmm.
when I do the energy practitioners healing stuff, yes.
The reason I brought up Edgar Casey is people would write to him all the time. He lived from the 1880s until 1945, I believe. And people would write to him and they would say, I have this problem, breathing, headaches, anything. He needed to know where the person was, and that was it. And he would go into a trance and he would say, you need to do this. And he would make a recommendation. One of his recommendations was that the person needed to drink something called oil of smoke. And of course everybody's like, what the heck is that? So then Casey had to go into another trance to explain what oil of smoke was. But he would make these recommendations like that, and about 90% of what he said is still being used today successfully. He was a interesting character, but he even said he had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yes, I can astral travel
mm-hmm.
to other people's homes and do healing that way.
Mm-hmm.
I can, but if it's someone that can't come to me,
yes,
I have them send me a picture of the area that they're looking to get to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work hands-on with the picture. Isn't that normal? Where I have never come across another energy practitioner that helps people that does it the way I do.
Do you work with potions, like an herbologist, or any, like, mixing things in the kitchen and boiling water and any of the...
Yeah, but it's potions to me is an old, outdated word.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like teas and tinctures and plasters, like you've heard of mud plasters.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's one herb that's called comfrey leaf, and you steep it in water for X amount of time, and then you dip a cloth in it, and you can lay it over a bruise
mm-hmm.
or a shingle, and it will help them go away faster.
Wow. What's the name of the thing again?
Comfrey leaf.
Comfrey.
COMFREY leaf. And you would start out with a half a teaspoon in 8 ounces of water that's just started boiling, and leave it steep for about 8 minutes. Do not drink it. It is highly poisonous.
Ooh.
But it can be used on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Like castor oil.
Yes.
That was Casey's big thing. Everything had something to do with castor oil. And
that's just nasty.
My wife and I studied energy healing, and we were told that we had to take everything out of our pockets. We had to take our shoes off so we could stand on our bare feet in order for the energy to work. Later, we discovered that this really wasn't true. Is there a set of working conditions that you find helpful?
Good question. I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I've been practicing so long that sometimes I just do things by rote, unfortunately. And sometimes it just comes in intuition. I would have to say, if I'm really concentrating on something, my best working conditions is using the sun instead of the moon in its different phases of waxing, which means it's getting up to noontime and then waning till it sets, and working outside in my bare feet.
So
now, this doesn't work in the winter because I would have frostbitten toes. But yeah, working outside and working in the sun. I also work outside with the moon.
How about certain days of the week? Are there certain times of the day, certain days of the week, certain times of the month that are more powerful than others?
Yeah. Let's go through the phases of the moon. We'll start with the first phase, which is the waxing moon, which means it's coming from the new moon into the full moon. And that lasts about 2 weeks. The waxing moon is a good time to do spells to bring things to you. Now, when you get to the full moon, that's when she is at her most powerful, and also at the mother aspect, and that's a good time again to bring things to you. It's also a good time to sow things, like to plant a garden or to plant something in yourself that you want to grow. Next is the waning moon. In the waning moon, let me go back. The full moon it's also a great time to do protection spells. Now, the waning moon is when you do things like wanting to stop a bad habit, want a person out of your life. It's a time for sending things away. Then you have the dark moon, which lasts for 3 days before the new moon. The dark moon is a time for reflection and meditation, and to just try and be one and try and be centered in yourself. And then you have the new moon. And as its name has in it, this is the time to start new endeavors. the seed or whatever you sowed at the full moon should be blessed on the new moon to grow. If you want to start a new project, a new relationship, the best time to do it is the new moon. As it has in it.
That sounds like a lot to remember.
It's all on the website. On one or the other, or both on my website. So,
are there certain areas that are more usable, more powerful, more energy? Say the woods or the top of a hill?
No. Some people will say yes. To me, it's wherever I can be in contact with Mother Earth. You know, Druids normally always have a clearing in the woods that they practice in. I can't think of the name of the tradition right now, but there's a couple of Wiccan traditions that always are on top of a hill. You know, to me, Mother Earth is all around us. And every part of her is sacred. So, no, I don't feel I have to go into the woods or up on a hill.
The whole thing with cats, is the story of familiars just nonsense, or is there a connection with pets?
There is a connection with pets, and the familiar does not have to be a cat.
That was a surprise when you told me.
Or an owl, or a frog, thinking back to Harry Potter movies. I have two familiars. One is a min pin named Cleo, and the other is a chihuahua named Star. Now, familiars do not go out and place curses on people or do the witch's bidding. No, that's not what a familiar is. A familiar helps the witch, sometimes by lending energy to her. Mine help me when I'm very upset by helping me to calm down. They also protect me physically and in the astral realms. So, yeah, there is such a thing as a familiar, but they don't necessarily have to be a cat. And each familiar and each witch, their relationship with their own familiar is just that, an individual relationship.
Do you pick your familiar, or does it pick you, or is it just happens?
For me, they've picked me. Again, I can't answer for other witches, but most of the people I know who have either a cat or a dog, they've gone to a shelter, or a friend's cat or dog had a litter, and whatever of the animal comes to them, that's who they choose for their familiar, or choose for their pet. Not all witches' pets are familiars. Some witches have 3 or 4 dogs and a cat and whatever else. And only one of them is her familiar, or his familiar. So familiars are a very personal thing, just like Witch's Book of Shadows is.
You were talking about male and female witches. Is a male witch also called a witch, or are they called a warlock?
Yes.
They're witch.
Warlock in the pagan community is basically saved for those who have caused trouble.
Caused trouble?
And have been outcasted, yes. For example, I had a person in my coven who, come to find out, was a psychic vampire. Now, what a psychic vampire is they live off another person's energy, and they cannot, and also they can live off another person's life force, which is what this one was doing to me. When it was banished, it got the title of warlock. And that way, if it tried to get into another coven or on another site, people in the community would be aware that there's something wrong with this person because it's a warlock. And yes, so warlock is a not nice thing.
Yikes.
So yeah, and to answer your original question, yes, men and women are both part of witches.
You said earlier when you were young that you were able to see spirits and contact and talk to them. Is this normal for your other witches, or is this just specifically towards you?
Not all other witches can do it, but there are quite a few. So it's not something that's just specific to me as an individual.
Do they?
And some witches can work on it with help and be able to connect to the other side.
The question has come up a lot, and I've heard it go both directions. A lot of people claim that when a person passes on to the next plane of existence, that suddenly they're able to communicate in all languages. And then other people say no, they can only speak the language that they knew when they were alive. Now, which of these two do you find to be true?
Well, the thing is, okay, my belief. When we're born, it's only a part of our higher self that's here incarnated on Earth. And the other part that's still up there in the Summerlands, maybe it lived a life where it was Romanian. Maybe I lived a past life where I was Egyptian. So when the part of me that's incarnated goes back to the higher self, I'd be able to understand any languages in lifetimes I've led before. Now I have to, when spirits talk to me, when I'm conversing with them, it's either in English or German.
German. Do you speak German?
Yeah. I used to speak it fluently, and then I started going to school, and then my great-grandmothers passed away, and I had no one to speak it to, so I've lost a lot of it.
Yikes. My family originated out of Germany, and nobody in the family speaks a single word of it. Oh, well. Where does... Well, some people, like their family pass on all kinds of traditions, and others, they just go on with life and forget the past.
Right.
Where does the energy or the power come from that you work with?
Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. I use or try to use universal energy. Going away from witchcraft into physics for a moment, Stephen Hawking's string theory, where every living thing is connected to every other thing, and we're connected to the stars and the planets. And okay, so now back to witchcraft. In witchcraft, we believe every living thing has an energy. We also believe rocks have energy, or crystals have energy. And I totally lost where I'm going.
Where the energy, where the power comes from that you work with.
Okay, so by me opening myself to the universe and drawing energy from it, rather than drawing on the energy that is inside of me that I can deplete and I can get sick because I've overused it. With universal energy, it's infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not the only universe or galaxy out there. And I use universal energy, and I try to teach my students to open themselves up to be able to feel it so that they can use it. And the feeling of universal energy for me is like I'm sitting in the middle of a star cluster and just relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
getting back to something we'd spoken of earlier, when you use herbs and things for mixing, for creating a healing remedy, do you have to use fresh spices and herbs? Do you have your own garden where you grow them, or do you all have a community garden where each witch can go to collect what they need?
Okay. When you're lucky enough to have a face-to-face coven,
Uh-huh.
a lot of times at the High Priestess and stuff, they will have an herb garden.
Mm-hmm.
I do grow some of my own herbs, but I pick them and dry them. And I also buy dry herbs.
But they don't have to be fresh picked right out of the backyard.
No. And in fact, if you're using them to make a tea or an elixir, them being dry is better because as they dry, their medicinal quality compacts into the leaf or whatever it is, the leaf, the flower, the stem, and more of the medicinal qualities will come out when you steep it in the water than if you use fresh. The one that's the best to use fresh, though, is peppermint.
Mm-hmm. On the same line of thought, how about crystals and rocks and things? You collect these as you just going through life, or is there like a set of crystals, stones that you have to have that you can obtain?
You just pick up stones and crystals as they call to you.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, when you pick them up and you set them in your predominant hand, or your power hand, which is the hand you write with, and you can pick, if you're still, you can pick up its energy and see if it feels good to you or if it feels bad to you. If it feels bad to you, you put it back and pick another one. If it feels good to you, you take it home and cleanse it and get everybody else's energy off of it.
How would you go about cleansing?
Yeah.
I've heard other recommendations, but what is your recommendation?
What, for cleansing a crystal?
Yes.
Hold it under the tap water and 3 times say, water wash all energies, but okay, let's use a bloodstone, for example. And I would say, water, please wash all the energy off of this bloodstone except its own. I'd say that 3 times. Then I would hold the bloodstone and move it back and forth and ask air to cleanse it. Then, if the sun's shining, I'll take it outside, set it on the grass, and ask the sun, or Ra, who is one of the Egyptian sun gods, and Mother Earth to cleanse the bloodstone from all energy but its own. And then I would pick it up, and I would hold it for a while to put my energy into it, to work with it. Bloodstone's usually use in healing.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what use is healing.
This is interesting. Sounds like a lot of memorization, a lot of... Were you given a book, or is there a book that you use that, like, you can't remember, I need to do a particular ritual, or do you have to contact somebody and say, how do I go about getting this particular thing done? Like, do you have the Book of Spells?
I'm sorry?
Is it something like the Book of Spells, Hocus Pocus, where she had the book?
Yeah. Basically, yes. Some people call it the Book of Spells. Some people call it a grimoire.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it the Book of Shadows. And what that is it's every individual witch's most powerful magical tool. Because in it, you record, when you do a ritual, you record how you did it, what you said, what you used in the ritual, and how it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're just beginning, there are online, there's a gazillion
mm-hmm.
websites that you can find information from. There's different books. I would recommend either Anne Monroe's Green Witch series or Eileen Holland, the Witch's Handbook.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen Holland, The Wiccan Handbook. Those are two really good ones. And with Anne Monroe, I'd also suggest Witchcraft and Alternative Path. Those are the ones I like. Now, a lot of people read Scott Cunningham's work, which is also very good. Unless you want to go into a strict tradition, I would stay away from any books written by Gerald Gardner or
mm-hmm.
his followers, because that's a very narrow band that they give you, a very narrow outlook. With my adapts, as I said, it's a 2-year and 1-day course.
Mm-hmm.
The first year, they do written lessons. The second year and the 1 day, we delve into the parts of the craft that they want to learn more about, whether it's Native American traditions or Italian witchcraft,
mm-hmm.
or what. I try to help them find their own path, because we're not cookie cutters.
Mm-hmm.
We were never made to be cookie cutters. That's why we can think and have free will.
With Halloween just around the corner, do you get more inquiries from the public this time of the year?
Halloween, to which is one of our biggest holidays. It's
mm-hmm.
called Samhain. It is a day that the veil between our world and the spirit world is the thinnest and easiest to contact the spirit. It is also the day of the last harvest, and whatever has not been harvested stays on the vine or the plant or whatever for the animals and birds to help them make it through the winter. And it's also, for those of us that go by a Celtic calendar, New Year's. New Year's Eve, and then November 1st, New Year's Day. Most people celebrate it as a way to honor their ancestors. Now, do I get more requests at this time? Yes and no. At this time of the year, or in about 2 weeks, I will be getting way off the wall letters. Like, can you ask Uncle so-and-so what he did with this or that? And it's like, okay. I'm sorry. No, I won't.
Yes.
You know, I do get more inquiries about becoming a student.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there is more email, but it really varies.
All the images I see on TV, the black dresses, the old-fashioned cloaks. If I were to walk by you on a street, would I recognize you as being a witch?
Nope, not unless you saw my pentacle that I wear. We're everyday people just like anybody else. Yes, there are some that dresses as a stereotypical witch,
Mm-hmm.
or goth, or emo, whatever you want to call it. But most of us, no, just everyday clothes. Now, a lot of us use a cloak when it comes to doing rituals. It's just a way that, for example, when you walk into the Catholic Church, to take you away from everyday things into a place of religion,
Mm-hmm.
you dip your hand and you make the sign of the cross. For me, when I put on my cloak, I am stepping away from my everyday things and into more deeply into my spirituality.
Hmm.
Now, the reason that cloaks came about in the first place was so the women and men could hide their faces when they were scurrying about town to get out of town to do their rituals.
Hmm.
And then that's where woods and hilltops come in,
Mm-hmm.
is that more centuries ago when they had to hide more. And in certain states today or countries overseas, they have to hide what they're doing. So with the cloak, with the hood's nice and big. You can't really see their face. It's
Mm-hmm.
a nice way to hide.
Hmm. We were talking before the show, and I'd asked you about the movie Hocus Pocus, and you said you'd actually seen it, which surprised the heck out of me. Completely nothing to do with witches.
No. I love the movie. It is one of the best comedies I think that's ever come out. But
Way off the mark.
no. It's fictitious
Mm-hmm.
craft. None of it is based on fact.
Still entertaining. I watch it every year
Oh, yeah.
just because it's Halloween.
Oh, I own it, and I watch it a lot more than just Halloween.
Hmm.
I like that. And then on Disney Channel, there's 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Town.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
No, that's one I haven't managed to catch yet.
That's cute too. It's about witches, where the mother married a mortal and came out of the special area that the witches and warlocks, witches and all different kinds of monsters, quote unquote.
Yeah,
living.
I have seen it. It was kind of like Bewitched, but more action.
Yeah, with the 3 children, Marnie and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I forget the other 2.
Not that.
Yeah,
well,
I like those 4 movies too.
How about?
But again, nothing to do with witchcraft.
How about the movie Paranorman? It's an animated.
I've never heard of it.
It's-
I've never seen it. I can't comment.
It's surprisingly worth watching. Unfortunately, it's not on that often, but if you ever get a chance, you might catch it. It's got a twist to it that's quite interesting. Anyway, is there a dark side to what you do? Well, not that you do it, but is there a dark side to witchcraft and groups out
Yes.
there that are really into that sort of thing.
Yes. Yes. There are dark practitioners, white practitioners, gray practitioners. Gray practitioners, they don't really do curses. They don't really take away a person's free will for any reason, but they will do spells if, say, somebody in their family gets harassed or whatever, do a spell for justice. The dark arts is curses and hexes and trying to take over another's will. You know, they're very much into
not nice things.
Love spells and things like that. And I can talk about it from the perspective of a dark practitioner because when I was younger, I did practice dark arts for about a year and a half.
Zikes.
Mainly, it was so I had the knowledge. I mean, there were a lot of things that I refused to allow my energy to be part of. In fact, most things. But it made me a more well-rounded teacher, I think.
That's interesting.
And another thing is the gray and the dark witches don't follow the Wiccan read, which is do what ye will, lest harm none. And then there is also a thing called threefold law, or the rule of three, which means whatever you send out can come back to you 3 times as strong.
Yikes.
So if you send out, say, for somebody to stub their toe, you might wind up breaking your foot.
Ouch. If you had to explain to somebody you're being a witch briefly, what would you tell them as far as what it is that you are? It's just a religion.
Besides just being a everyday person, witchcraft to me, and this is the first thing I do tell people, is to get back into harmony with Mother Earth and to help her start healing from the centuries of maliciousness by humans with wars and fracking. Hunting species to extinction. Those are all things that really upset me. I would also tell them that, and I do, that I'm no different than they are. It's not that it's just that I believe in a different God and Goddess. The same as the Christians have God, the Father, and the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. Muslims have Allah. I don't remember what the Hindus call them. All powerful. And then those in the craft, some only go to the female side and only work with goddesses. And some, like me, go to the side where I work with gods and goddesses because everything needs a balance to me. If the moon didn't circle the earth, the tides wouldn't come in and out. So the moon helps to balance the water levels on earth. If the sun didn't come out, even if it's behind clouds, we would all freeze to death. So again, we need that balance between heat and light in order to live. So
You're looking to live in harmony with the planet.
It's very hard to explain.
Mm-hmm. Looking to live in harmony with the entire planet, kind of.
Well, yes.
Now, once again, I've dropped back a bit. How about the legends and the stories of the Fae folk, fairies and such? Is that anything that y'all believe or look into?
Yep. Yes, many of us do believe in the Fae folk.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I have a fairy hill, in my backyard right next to my garden. I was blessed with the fairies deciding to come and live there. And yes, we believe in unicorns. Yes, we believe in dragons, Gryffindors. A lot of what people consider mythical creatures. Actually, at one time, many of us feel did walk the earth. And were, they've had to go into hiding or they've all been hunted and killed.
How about Sasquatch or Bigfoot?
I personally think there's something out there, just like with the Loch Ness Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And chance.
And on a completely different note, how about UFOs and aliens?
Yep. I think it's pretty arrogant of anyone to think that we are the only planet in all of space that has intelligent life forms on it.
Mm-hmm.
I find that very hard to believe. I believe there are other planets that are inhabited, and some have greater technology than we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very possible that in pre-biblical times that a lot of what they called angels, and for example, Enoch coming down in his fiery chariot.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly sounds like an alien making a landing to me.
Yes.
But that's my personal opinion. But I'm not a fanatic over it.
Mm-hmm.
But it does interest me. I do try to keep up on any of the latest news about it, because at some point in time there is going to be first contact. We just don't know when or where.
Where can folks get more information on witchcraft and what y'all do?
Well, they can come to, if they're just
curious,
starting out looking,
mm-hmm.
I would go to COVENLIFE.co. That's covenlife.co. My other website is witchesofthecraft.com. WITCHESOFTHECRAFT.com. They could also write to me at Lady Beltane, LadyBeeltane, at AOL.com.
Have you written any books?
I'm working on one.
Mm-hmm.
I have a story that's a compilation book of 24 authors of how their spirituality changed their life. And the name of that is Modern Tarot and Soul Stories. And it's sold on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And all proceeds go to Women for Women International, which is a group that helps women who have been oppressed learn how to dress for an interview or speak at an interview, how to balance a checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
You know, simple everyday things that they weren't taught because it was against the law or whatever.
Mm.
And then I am a consultant on a fictional series so that the witchcraft part isn't all woohoo, you know, way out there. And and that series is called, it's Alice Worth. And it's also on Amazon. The witch doesn't come into the fourth book, and her name is Carly. She is actually based on me.
Hmm.
So when you get to the third, you need to read books in order because otherwise they don't make too much sense. But they are free with Kindle Unlimited.
What was the name of the book again?
The series is Alice, Alice, Worth, Worth.
Okay, nope.
And the author's name is Lisa Edmonds. Edmonds.
But it's a fictional story with real facts.
With some more, there's some actual facts. I mean, some things get bent a little bit, but not a lot. Also, it has mages in it and shapeshifters, werewolves. Yeah, it's a pretty cool series.
Humor or drama or...
Yes. It's a little of both. And action.
Oh, sounds like I'm going to have to buy some books.
They're a good read. And there's places where you'll choke up, and there's places where you will laugh your bottom off.
Yikes. Yep, now I'm definitely going to have to look into them.
Yeah, and like I said, the modern hero and soul stories. My story in there is under Lady Beltane, and she finds love again, feasting with her ancestors. And the story is about when my mother passed away. I was having a very, very hard time with it. And one night I had a dream where there was this huge trestle table, and all my ancestors were around it, and there was one empty chair. And I went to sit down, and my mom went, "No, you can't sit here yet. You have more work to do. We just wanted to let you know that we're with you, that we love you, and you'll always be protected." So that's kind of paraphrasing what the whole story's about.
Sounds fascinating. Well, I really want to thank you for being on the show tonight, taking away an hour of your life from when you could have been doing other things.
I enjoyed this. Thank you very much for having me.
For those that didn't catch your name, this has been Lady Beltane, who is a High Priestess and a practicing witch. Thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man, the same murder three? Strange things that happen here, how stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree?